everybody, and welcome back to the Classic Quest podcast. This is episode 44 or 5. Sorry, 4 or 5. One of those two.
I think it's 45.
Either way, that's fine. If you're not interested in our housekeeping spiel, in the description of the video, you can jump ahead to when we actually delve into the album a little bit. In the meantime, we're going to go and start my new favorite segment of the entire podcast, the part where we read our favorite comment from the last podcast. And by we, I mean me. I picked this one. So this week, this one's from Gio, who is a regular commenter. Thank you for that. And he said, in regards to our D12 Devil's Night podcast review of that album, I never listened to the full album, but I'm halfway through this review and really want to check it out now. And
cool.
Nice.
That's probably one of the coolest comments that you can get when somebody hasn't actually listened to the album. But
we inspire you to listen to this.
So that's
I think it's great.
Pretty next level, and I really appreciated that. It made my day when I read it. So that was cool. And now you see, if you comment on this video, you might have it appear on the screen, which is always fun.
Well, that's not only the coolest thing that happens if you comment on any of our videos.
Do tell.
Oh, yeah. So we have this grind to 1,000 subscribers contest that we are working on. So as you can see, we're at, well, as of recording it, we're at 687.
Almost at 700.
687 or something like that, yeah. And we're trying to hit 1,000, and that's cool because y'all have helped us grow to this point, which is fucking lovely and amazing, and we like you all. But how this contest works is if you subscribe to the channel, and then you like the video, and then you leave a comment about the review or about the album in general, you are entered into our raffle of sorts. And then basically, we're combing all the comments, putting them into an Excel file, scrubbing against who subscribed.
He's doing all that.
Yep. Then gonna have a list of comments and names, and then we're gonna use a random number generator and pick 3 people. And first place is gonna win $100 of Amazon money. Plus, you can request a review of anything you want, album-wise or a movie or something, and you get to pick who does it. So for those of you who think I'm a dick, you can kick me off. Second place will get $50. Third place will get $25 of the U.S. currency equivalency. So if you up in Canada like we are, it will actually be a higher value than that $100 that it would be. Anyway, and then for every other video that you comment on and give that like to, you will have additional raffle entries into this potential winning. So
cool.
There you go.
Like stacking entries, right?
Yeah. So incentive
stacks
to go
upon stacks upon stacks.
Upon stacks upon
Am
stacks upon
I
stacks.
right about that?
Now,
Yes, Bonnie. Stacks on stacks on stacks. Okay.
So, albeit that may have been my biggest blundery way through this of all of the intros I've done on that. That is our contest, and we are gonna pay out once we hit 1,000. A couple of days later, we'll do one of those YouTube live videos, so you know we're not faking shit. And then we'll just use that generator, pop, and we'll contact those people and set that shit up. It's super
like
easy. You'll give me an email address, I'll send you the money, and life is peachy keeney, and it's that fucking easy.
Peachy keen jelly bean.
All right. That's enough about that stuff. Y'all are here for a particular reason. So, Christopher,
As labeled below.
Yeah.
your favorite part of the entire thing.
Well, for this week's Classic Quest album review, we went with Kendrick Lamar's Section 80.
Yes, that
Very
is what
cool.
we're doing.
His first studio album.
And a lot of this is honestly because these two metalheads made this Kendrick Lamar Mad City song reaction, and it got a fuck ton of views, which sent a fuck ton of views to our Kendrick Lamar Good Kid Mad City review, and then a lot of people subscribed, like a significant number. So that was cool. So we decided to do another Kendrick Lamar review.
I mean, I'm always for doing Kendrick. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Those new people who joined us thinking that we cover a lot of Kendrick. And it's also because many of you on the Good Kid Mad City review who did comment had remarked that it might have been more meaningful had we done this album first. So here we are, Kendrick. Woot!
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Needless to say, we like Kendrick here.
Yes, very much.
If you do check out the Good Kid Mad...
Who doesn't like Kendrick, though? Who's that person?
We got a couple of comments actually that said he was overrated. I know some people find him a bit
overrated
over the top,
and like still enjoying his music. Those are two different things.
but somebody I know it was regards to his voice was annoying to some people. This isn't me. This is just reactions I've seen. He's not everybody's favorite rapper. He is just a lot of people's rapper of joy of the modern era.
Everybody's favorite rapper.
I don't know. I enjoy Kendrick because the way he puts albums together is fucking magical. And he has this attention to detail that I feel a lot of people can learn from.
I think that's good. That's what he's trying to do, right?
Kendrick Lamar is not everyday music for me. It is when I, like, they're like movies, man. All of these albums. And I don't know. We haven't done a Pimp a Butterfly yet, so I'm not exactly sure where I stand on that. I like it, but I don't know how I feel about it, having not delved into it. But let's say I want to listen to a Kendrick Lamar album sometimes because it's truly amazing when I put it on and it's like this crazy experience, but I don't know that I can listen to it every day. And it's no disrespect. I fucking love these albums. I think they were like true masterpieces.
Yeah.
But Good Kid way more so than Damn. But anyway, so that's where we are now for me.
Cool.
Nice.
All right. Well, do you guys have the cover? What do you think?
Yeah, you guys don't have anything more to say? No?
I don't really have much to say. We've already discussed in other podcasts where we stumbled upon Kendrick when we've done it. At this point, we're just really reviewing the album.
Right, so. But you know, just a little. Okay, anyway, screw it. I'm trying to let everyone talk. Is all I'm trying to say.
If I have anything to say, I do. We have reviewed Damn. We have reviewed Good Kid, Mad City. They are really great albums. They are
both. Like April, so we've come a long way since then. It's something just to take note of.
Yeah.
Right. They are. I will agree with you though that they are albums that you have to put on when you're in the mood to listen to them. Certain songs off the albums.
I feel like there are certain songs that I can put on anytime and love, and it doesn't matter. Like if I'm in a good mood or a bad mood, you put on King Kunta, and I'm sorry, I'm there.
Right, but that's but again, like I'm saying, like that's King Kunta. That's one song, you know. Like you're not really gonna sit there and listen to Pimp a Butterfly the entire album just for like that track.
Maybe.
You know?
Okay.
So I guess a good way to put it is it's hard to listen to Kendrick without listening to the entire album. I find a lot of his songs don't work on shuffle because they work within the realms of the album so fluidly and perfectly. And then occasional singles will stand out that work as independent tracks. Anyway.
Well, actually, let us know what you guys think. Do you think Kendrick's albums are able to just play on a shuffle playlist, or do you have to be in a specific mindset to want to listen to them?
Let us know what you think.
Tell us what your favorite song is.
Yeah, that album cover, just to answer your question, I find it busy. There's a lot
Well, I think
of
that there
things.
is a lot going on.
And so it made me not want to look at it, and as a result, I have very little to say except that it's very busy.
Well,
there's like a gun, there's like drug paraphernalia, you know, and it says like the Section 80 there. There's a gold bracelet, which I noticed he was wearing in like his music videos. That must be like his favorite bracelet. There's like some, you know, a bit of cash over there. Like it's just kind of like a whole bunch of things like jumbled together. And I think, I assume I'm just like putting two and two together here. He recorded this entire album, or he wrote this entire album in his mom's kitchen.
Nice.
And so I'm wondering if like that was like his like pile of stuff or whatever, you know, like in his mom's kitchen, or maybe it's just like from his bedroom or something.
I think it's like just because of what it is. I think it's meant to be like the cliche token. Like if you were to picture a meme of this is Section 80 and in a meme format, and it's just all the little items that would appear.
Yeah, that's true.
It seems like a representation of his surrounding, his environment, where a part of where he comes from, what he sees and deals with on a daily basis.
Maybe like all of his friends like put like thing or something.
Like again, going through the albums we've already recorded, we do know that Kendrick does have friends who have done drugs, which would represent some of the drugs on the thing. He does hang with some gangsters. He knows some people, which represents the bullets.
So, I think it has a little more to do with the fact that because let's talk about the title.
Right.
So Section 80 is a hybrid between 80s and the Reagan era, and the slashing of funding to Section 8, which was the housing projects and shit, which is the premise, the theme is.
Yeah.
This is the consequences of that environment that was created, right? It's almost like he's taking, and so this is more like the imagery that's associated with the environment that he is painting within this album. I find
it's kind of like you can look at it and know what he means. Like,
yeah.
When you see Section 8, like you were right with the meme, like this is Section 80, boom. It's like okay.
I mean,
I get what you're
it's
trying
like
to
I'm
say.
looking at it here, and I can, it does kind of look almost like what a meme would be, a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. Anyway, it's an okay cover. It's just that it fails my thumbnail test, so I find it like non-distinct to me.
A little dark, you find?
I'm not really the biggest. Okay, this is just me as a person. I'm not the biggest covers, whatever. It's not my favorite part of the album. The name's cool. The name made me think. The name made me go read the Section 8 wiki page for a minute and go look into this and learn. So that to me is a dope-ass name.
Right there, I think that he's happy with that. That you did some research.
So, I don't know. You have more thoughts on this? You want to jump into talking about this lovely album?
Yeah, let's just jump into it. Let's talk about Fuck Your Ethnicity.
I think it's worth noting what HiiiPower is.
Yep.
Because
Let's get right into that. Because it is mentioned.
It's a movement, and the three eyes represent the three elements of heart, honor, and respect. And I think Kendrick Lamar was either made it or was involved in making it, and he's like the movement of just.
It's just about positive empowerment, right?
It's like a way of living, like a code of like if you follow the ideas of putting your heart first, your honor and respect, and all that, and you live this way, good things are gonna happen, and you'll achieve shit. I don't fully understand it.
I think that they want everybody to kind of do this movement, and then everybody's gonna have respect for everybody else, and I think that that's what's wrong with that.
It's like a form of equality, a form of just not feeling like you're better than someone else, knowing that just because you have A and someone has B, you're still the same.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
I think that's basically what he's talking about in this song, because we have the guy or the pastor or I'm not really sure what he is, a teacher or something, and that's what he's talking about. He just wants everybody to be equal. He doesn't want everyone's just a human. He doesn't care what your ethnicity is. He just thinks that everybody's the same and everybody needs to be looked at with respect and honor and heart, I guess.
Yeah, there's a degree of that for sure. I mean, I think part of it, he starts off kind of describing why he does hip-hop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fire burning inside my eyes, this the music that saved my life. Y'all be calling it hip-hop, I'll be calling it hypnotize. Yeah, hypnotize, trap my body, but free my mind. What the fuck is you fighting for? Ain't nobody gonna win that war, right? Which is interesting. You're kind of questioning your ethics and your principles.
Mm-hmm.
My details be retail, man, right? It's brilliant to me.
Yep.
I got so much in store. Racism is still alive. Yellow tape and colored lines.
Right.
So he's trying to I guess describe that right off the jump, that he's using this music to escape his circumstances, just the way it used to be. Almost. Anyway.
Well,
young little
touch
Kenny.
upon, even with the title "Fuck Your Ethnicity," it's he's looking past race, color, and skin.
I mean, yeah. Sorry, the chorus is kind of that. No.
Well, right. That's what I'm saying. It's still just I'm more just emphasizing the term of equality, and just it seems like he's trying to explain it's not just black folk or Haitian, not Haitian.
I think that the race. Okay, I'm gonna just say that I don't think the race is so much the central point of this song.
Right.
I think the central point of this song is people who stand for something and have proper principles will win regardless of race.
Right.
And you guys whining about ethnicity and not actually changing. And I feel look, if I offend anyone by saying this, I'm just trying to paraphrase Kendrick here, and I apologize. But he's basically saying by bitching about, let's say, if you're black and you're complaining about being black and you're not changing your circumstances, then fuck your ethnicity. It's not really the problem. And I believe that's what the message is trying to convey. And I might be wrong. And I'm not.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's pretty solid. I think
it's stuff I'm tired of y'all because everybody lied to y'all and you believe it. Recognize them false achievements. Or like an alchemist, and I be kicking ass lyrically. I'm UFC. If a UFO, I don't know, this second part is fucking if a UFO would come for me, I'm going to come back with the head of an alien. Don't alienate my dreams. Get it right. Get a life. I got two. That's a metaphor for the big shit I do. Mm-hmm. And I can empathize with that. I've got two lives. Essentially, we do this, which easily eats 30 to 40 hours a week for me. And then I go to work, which eats 40 to 50 hours, depending on if you include travel time. And I get where he's coming from. And then you see, and this is just white people too, people who just complain.
It's anybody.
That's again, that's also, he's also breaking down the routine that people in general deal with. We all have kind of two lives. We have our family life and our work life. We have our social life and our love life, if you want to kind of look at it.
Yeah, for sure.
So what I think he's going with all of this is it's not like, don't use your ethnicity as an excuse to not achieve. And that if you have a plan and you stand for this high power and you find your passion and you put in that work and you do your thing, it doesn't really matter what your ethnicity is, you will achieve. And that's what I think the crux of this track is. And it does like take into account and paint this context that like life might not be great and et cetera, et cetera. It's not exactly like the most positive song. But
well, I think that he's singing to like anybody who's like from like, you know, like the hoods and from like, you know, like a lot of these like impoverished areas. You know, that it doesn't matter like what your ethnicity is, you know, rich or poor, we're all the same. And like I think that he's making this message more for like those people, like the, you know, the people who grew up, you know, in like, you know, in the 80s, it's what he talks about. And so I think that he's making this for them and saying like, listen, like don't let all those other faults, you know, or like impair you, kind of like, just, you know, go out and do you and have like a better message and, you know, go for it. And I think that he's just trying to, you know.
And he's got like the skit at the beginning from the narrator voice that comes in and introduces Keisha and Tammy and just the idea of where we're at.
I like that skit. I like how it sounds like it's kind of like raining outside.
It's a fire.
Well, I got that. I got the fire burning. I got this like campfire feel, but I felt like it's like a campfire kind of, not campfire,
like
but
it
like
didn't
burning in like a living room in like a den, and you can hear the rain from outside, and they're kind of just like talking to Keisha and Tammy, explaining like these experiences and stories.
It's more like it's a TV show, I felt, and this is like the narrator, because I'm going to pull up Chris Chrome, and if you look at the video at HiiiPower, which is a bit of a spoiler, and you see how it's kind of like Kendrick talking to these kids, I think it's, the idea is Kendrick is speaking to people born in the 80s who had to go through this specific set of circumstances primarily, but he's also doing what he did on Good Kid, where he's speaking to everyone to tell the story. He's speaking to those people, but in a way where everyone else is supposed to be able to like listen to that story and also relate and learn from it, you know?
Yeah, like the fire and like where he was and what he was doing, it all kind of, it threw me off a little bit, because, you know, it just made me think of like a fire burning in like, you know, like one of those tin or I guess metal container things, and like, you know, like maybe just something like that. It's not quite a trash can, but like anyways.
Oh, like a barrel.
Yeah, like a barrel.
I just didn't notice the fire.
Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, it's throughout like all of the skits. Well, anyways, it made me think, and I was like, is he like a teacher? Is he a minister? Like, who is this guy? Like, he's just like a motivator. Like, what is his message?
I just
like,
thought it was voice pitch Kendrick.
But like, I know, but like, it's, I don't know. Like, it just made me wonder, like, where he was, and like, you know, and he's like, he wants people to come up closer. So it's like as if like he's in a classroom, but then there's fire. Like, I don't know. There's like a whole bunch of things. It just didn't seem to fit together. But it's kind of like, you know, you make do with what you've got, like, even if it is like a barrel on the streets and everyone's kind of sitting there, and like, you know, because he asks later on in like another skit, like if people are taking notes. So I'm wondering if it's like a classroom, or like, I just didn't know where it was, and I just thought that was kind of confusing.
Yeah, no, actually, it's interesting. I really didn't notice the fires at all. I was more focused on Kendrick's verses and stuff. The skit was a little bit like an opening up of the sequence of a context, and then Kendrick kind of comes in. It's almost like you picture like some guy by the fire, like just talking to you, and then it just cuts over, and Kendrick just starts like rapping out the story.
Yeah.
And anyway, it's I give this song a 4. And this is why. It's very brilliant on a concept level. I actually really dig what he's trying to say. I don't know how much I 100% agree with him. That's fine. I haven't thought enough about it, but it's cool. But my issue is, on this album, the beats for me were very much in the realm of what I like, or kind of on the skirts of like, it's okay, but I don't really vibe to it. And I don't really dig the instruments, like the beat on this one. I like how Kendrick raps, and I like the overall feel of the song. But, like, unless I was really going to listen to this album beginning to end, I really wouldn't listen to this song again in light of how cool it is, because it is a pretty cool song. But, meh, I give it a 4.
Okay. I gave this one a 4.5. I liked it. I liked more, like, obviously, like, Kendrick's part where he's, like, rapping and whatever, and I thought that his message was great, and it was so nice to, like, just start off and be like, oh, there's, like, young Kenny, there he is, you know, and he's, you know, going on with about everything that he does, and, You know, definitely sounds like younger in this, but like still has like a similar message that he's trying to get across. So.
Well, I gave this song a 4.5 on 5. I like the piano samples in the background. They're very smooth, and I've always liked the sound of piano keys. Also, the nice little drum rhythm that plays throughout the song is very, very kind of relaxing in terms of what he's saying. Other than that, I mean, the song itself is very very welcoming to the album. I found it kind of sets up what he's trying to portray throughout the entire album, and he's talking to us. He's talking to the listeners in a sense. So I thought it was very powerful.
Cool.
4.5 on 5.
All right, so hold up.
All right.
Shit poppin'. Section 80. Back in this.
I think it's worth noting that we didn't mention it. Kendrick raps extremely well on this album. Like,
Oh yeah.
he's honestly, if you play this next to like his later works, his talent's pretty much there, and it's the layering and the mixing and the production that seems a lot more evolved, and it's actually like it's pretty cool. I thought I was very impressed with that.
Yeah.
On that note, I felt this beat was a little bit on the boring side, and I had
It was like that 70s or 60s, like I don't know, like whatever it was supposed to be, like that,
Well,
like
given
tune
that
that was I don't know throughout.
given that he starts off saying in the song that he wrote this track while he was on a plane and he encounters a stewardess, I kind of just went, oh well, the beat does sound like lobby music, like elevator lobby hotel music.
But it sounds like old, like
it-
that
well,
kind
if
of
you
music.
think of like 80s,
Even-
early 90s music,
Still.
like
it could be the most well-chosen beat for this message in the world. It was not that fun for me to listen to.
Yeah.
Be that as it may, I'm okay with it. Kind of felt like this song was a little bit of a approach at the persona of hip-hop is the best I got from this.
Yes.
I liked a few lines in this song that were like, and I feel like with Kendrick, it's like most of the song's pretty well written, but then there's these little passages in the middle that almost strike up to. It's like you're almost reading a Bible or another religious text, and most of it's like great, and there's nothing wrong with it, but then there's those things that just like pop out to you, and I like this one. As a kid, I killed 2 adults. I'm too advanced. I lived my 20s at 2 years old. The wiser man, truth be told, I'm like 87. Just fucking an incredible line, right?
That maybe he's just seen so much in his life, you know?
But he's like, what's cool about that line is how he plays the double entendre of being 87 he's so old, he's 87, but he's also born in
From
87.
an 87.
And I can relate to being born in 87. It's a super relatable thing to me. And I'm not gonna lie, a lot of this album, like some of the stuff he's commenting on, I was like, yeah, it's crazy how in Montreal as white people, some of this shit is kind of relevant. Is all I'm trying to say. It was weird. I don't know. Maybe growing up in that era, a lot of us were impacted by that shit. I suppose not to compare or anything like that. It was just, especially in the next track, more so much this one. Other noteworthy line for me was, back in this bitch, in the back of that bitch with the back against the wall, and your bitch on the edge of my dick. Jump off. I call a bitch, a hoe, a woman, a woman. I really like that. Was interesting to me, right? And then anyway, next line is boring, but just the idea that he takes the time to be so accurate with his language and lets you know that if he's calling you a bitch, it's because you're not a woman, and if you are a hoe, it's and language is super fucking important, and I think a lot of times people misappropriate labels and all sorts of other shit. And I like the fact that Kendrick, in the midst of this casualness, goes as far as to describe how, at least in the realms of his hip-hop world, these are all different things. And that's something I've learned through studying the hip-hop culture. And if you consider like the media attacks on it, it is, anyway, it was all interesting to me to come across that. Otherwise, the hook's like okay. I believe it's referencing another track. I forgot to write it down. And the verses are okay. The song is kind of... Honestly, at this point in the album, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to think this is great and they're going to get mad at me. I mean, there's still a lot more songs, but I give this a 3.5. It's an okay song to me. This is... Like, if you had shown this to me and said, this is Kendrick Lamar, I would probably not have taken him as seriously as some of the other tracks on this album, is what I'm trying to say.
That's fair. I mean, it definitely didn't stick, like, with me, like, this song. I gave it a 4 on 5. I liked it, but it wasn't great. Like, it was just sort of like, it was an okay song, but I don't know. One thing that I liked about it was that, you know, he says he wants to have sex with, like, the stewardess, but that might be, like, you know, if he's being, like, a terrorist, you know, if he wants to have sex with her, or if he does have sex with her. But I just thought that was kind of interesting, because then later on he says Christians not being able to tell Christians, like, who's Christian. And I thought that was interesting, considering he's on a plane, and anybody who looks a certain religion is going to stand out more, and probably get screened at the airport. But you know, because Christians don't look Christian, because they don't have, like, a certain thing that they are, you know, that they have to wear or whatever, that anybody can be anyone. I just thought that was kind of like an interesting thing, and that was my interpretation of that. So yeah, like I said, I'm very much with you. Like, this song, like, was okay. It was a good song, but it didn't stick. And, like, it kind of, like, that 70s or whatever vibe that was going on. It definitely felt like it dragged on, like that little beat. I didn't like it so much.
Nice.
That's completely fair. I mean, Kendrick Lamar did the Section 80 thing way back in, what, 2011, I think.
Woo.
Anyway, how did you feel about this song, Chris?
I really like this song. I like the vibe to it. I like the feel. Like I was telling Bonnie a little earlier, the background noise kind of sounds like a hotel lobby. If we're gonna talk about Kendrick making albums that are, like, cinematic and, like, kind of like movies, well, I can kind of see, like, a compilation, or what are they called? Montages with this type of background music going on, where you see people traveling on planes and going, like, kind of just traveling to another country or whatever. So I get that. That really got me sucked in. First of all, the beat. Second of all, I liked how he starts off with acknowledging that he's on a plane and he's writing this track. And the track is basically how, like, I feel like he's kind of questioning himself as a rapper persona and himself of who he is. So when he asks the stewardess, like, what she thinks about a young homie doing what he's got to do, I kind of felt like he implied that she responded with the cliche, like, wants money, wants hoes, wants drugs, wants living fast life. And then he goes into, hold up, let me just really explain to you who I am and how my life is, and I'm not trying to be like the rapper. So he goes that, and then into the second verse, he's kind of explaining how his life is as a rapper, as Kendrick Lamar, as he's doing things. And then on the third verse, he basically just shits on every rapper who's just like, okay, I say shits on every rapper because he is going after rappers who are trying to, like, live this life and acting like this is the way it is, and not really being what I would say smart rappers, kind of like promoting drug use and kill this one, rape this one, you know, they have fun, party, sex thing, right?
Yeah.
And Kendrick's kind of just there, like, this is how I'm doing it. Y'all kind of question how I make it up here. Y'all kind of question what I'm doing, but y'all don't want to do what I'm doing, and y'all don't want to follow what I'm doing. And then what really also ties it up is at the end when he goes, don't forget, I wrote this entire song while on a plane thinking about having sex with a stewardess. And it's just mind-boggling how he's kind of just there, like, just remember, I'm on my own plane in first class, living the rapper life, questioning who I am as a rapper, questioning my persona. It was fucking great to see that type of honesty on this track.
I think that I'm going to have to listen to this song again, keeping that in mind, because I didn't get it, but as you were saying that...
I mean, if that's what it's about, I think that's, like, you definitely got it, and we didn't.
I'm kind of happy Chris saved the day on this one, so now the people in the comments can know that somebody on here got this one.
4.5 on 5.
You know what?
Nice.
It's really brilliant, but it doesn't change my dislike of the sound of the song.
Fair.
And my interest in the song is still kind of low. Except for the part where now I know that if I'm listening to this movie album, I'm going to have to go through this song again. Whereas maybe prior to this, I might have just skipped over it. So thank you, Chris.
You saved the day.
That's right.
Would you like to introduce the next song?
Yeah, Chris, do you know this thing?
Yes, I'm well aware of what ADHD is.
Chris, tell us all about your ADHD thoughts. The thoughts about the song A.D.H.D.
So, Okay, so when I first read ADHD, I kind of thought it was based on the mental illness of ADHD and how a lot of us kids have gotten falsely diagnosed with it and how we're kind of coping with drug addiction. Straight off, Kendrick starts off the song by explaining that he's seeing his friend tripping off this prescribed medication already.
May I just interject that it actually starts off with 8 blunts to the face and a bunch of other shit, and then flows into that.
Yes, I was getting to that, but yes, it does technically start off with the hook of 8 blunts to the face, drinking bottles, taking pills, and all of the lines all end up saying "fuck that" in terms of like.
Go on, I'll talk after.
In terms of. Kind of like, fuck that, I don't want it, but fuck that, it's not working. What I understood from this song is that a lot of people are using recreational drugs or even prescription medication and blaming it on the fact that they were falsely diagnosed or even thinking that they have ADHD as an excuse to just escape reality and wanting to find their happiness and understand what's going on. What I liked, a lyric that I did like from this song was, man, not one of our lives is caught up in the daily superstition that the world is about to end. Who gives a fuck? We never do listen unless it comes with an 808 melody and some hose, PlayStation and some drank, technology bought my soul. And that right there, in terms of having ADHD as... Anyway, having ADHD and knowing that it's supposed to lead to like distraction and you always get distracted and you're not being able to focus. Well, first off, music, highly distracting. Technology, especially PlayStation, highly distracting. And Kendrick acknowledging that we are now starting to spend most of our money on these technologies and waste a lot of our time on this to find happiness is kind of just because we were all falsely lied to.
Yeah, that's
cool.
A lot of the stuff in there I agree with. I do. I think that it is a bit of a story too, right? So like it's all at a party almost.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, there's multiple stories as I understand.
think it's one fluid thing, right? Because he meets this girl at the end of the first verse.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so he starts off and his friend's tripping, and they're like, the instant result is, just get him a Vicodin, and he orders that up, and like that's how.
Well, after they've put him in, like again, he also goes into description of like
details,
putting him
man.
into the bath and stuff. Yeah.
Whatever. He gives him that was
Yeah.
So whatever. He gets a Vicodin.
There's a lot of drugs going on.
And he calms him down with that. I actually wrote down like the whole fucking beginning of this because I thought it was interesting. Man, I swear my tripping off that shit again. Like this is a regular. Pick him up, then I set him in cold water. Regular. Then I ordered up some Vicodin. I hope that take the pain away from the feeling that he felt today. Like that's just like that's where it starts to hit home. And it's like, look,
deep.
Never really lived in the ghettos of Compton, but I did not necessarily grow up rich, and I can understand parts of where this feeling comes from, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know that when you part of Section 80, and you feel like no one can relate because you are a loner, marijuana endorphins make you stronger. And I was like, you know what? Maybe we don't come from the same place, but there are the number of people I know where this entire first verse is just a copy paste of the reality, especially because I was 23 when he was 23. So back then, that is what people were doing all over, and it was just.
That's interesting. Like, I mean, there's a guy, a friend of mine. He just posted on Facebook. He was saying like everybody I know is getting off of their meds and going on weed.
Yeah.
He's like, but I still like the meds. And like it's just like an interesting thing.
I saw the same post.
Oh, maybe we have a mutual friend.
The same post, like the identical word for word. That is weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then he meets this girl at the end of the party, and then he was trying to get with her, but she brings up the idea of being crack babies.
No, he brings it up to
he
her,
does.
and then she's kind of like.
She brings up the idea of I double checked, triple checked this. I listened to the song like 4 times in a row. I normally don't get so caught up on a song, but I couldn't get enough of this. It was like drugs, ironically or coincidentally or whatever the right word is. So she brings it up, right? Because at the end, it's her who explains quickly what the crack baby sees. He's just trying to like get with. He's like, "What do you mean?"
Okay.
And he's responding to her bringing it up. I know it's kind of loosely worded where it's hard to follow, but it's grammatically presented that way. And anytime there was the double voice is when she was speaking, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Okay, maybe you're right.
So anyway, so the idea is they were both born in the 80s, and regardless of if they were directly impacted by drugs, all of them are impacted by the crack epidemic and what happened. All of them, even if their specific family might not have been, because of the environment, because of the everything. And it just kind of really sets the context of a generation of people coming from a very bad environment that was systematically
like a whole generation
created.
of crackheads, and then the next generation was just like all these people who are dealing with it, and they're all ADHD or whatever.
And so if you look at what ended up happening with the idea of ADHD, it was people who were expressing themselves and trying to cope with stuff were medicated to silence them. Yeah. It's a really apt title for the thing. So the idea of ADHD, everyone's just getting fucked up because nobody gets really taught how to deal with it when everyone's just medicated to suppression. And this shit hit me on many levels. And
that's just interesting seeing, like, you know, like a lot of, like, you know, adults, you know, I mean, a lot of these people who were like medicated and, you know, had these medications, they're all becoming adults and they're making their own choices and seeing what works best for like their lives and, like, you know, for their future generations, you know. So it's an interesting thing, like, to try to struggle with that, and that there's still like this sort of weird repercussion of like the crack era, which just sounds crazy.
As the chorus goes on, it's like it's kind of tying in together that doing all of these narcotics and all these
got a high tolerance when your age don't exist. So at that age, especially when you're in the late teens, early 20s, you're not. Our generation is never trying to grow up. Like, even at 30, how many 30-year-olds do you know who are just really 20-year-olds still? And so we don't really care about the consequence of age. So we all behave like we're 16 still. And it's just when you have that escapist mentality and you're using, it's hard to get a grasp. I mean...
Well, it's also kind of like a loop.
But even if you think back to Montreal's rave scene 5-6 years back, and the amount of kids that were overdosing off of these pills and shit, and just... could have been this song, but happening all over our city and the same age group that is being impacted by it. So it's just interesting how far the consequences of, let's say, these actions really do spread when you think about it. I don't know. This song's a 5. The beat's amazing. It, like, all of a sudden my attitude and mood went like boing, and I was like, okay, I see it. It took a couple of songs to start out, but the chorus is well done. The effects are well used. His rapping is impeccable on this. It is a captivating experience to me.
Wow. I gave this one a 4 on 5. I mean, I liked it. I thought it was a very interesting message. It was sort of like, don't like rely on this, or like don't use it as a crutch, kind of like if you're ADHD, like, you know, like there are other things that you can do. And it shouldn't, I don't know. I think that he's also trying to like deal with everybody who is that, or was diagnosed that way. And, you know, and everybody else that's dealing with like their drug dependency, whether it's on prescription or illegal drugs. So yeah, I mean, I just thought it was an interesting song. It wasn't my favorite, but it definitely gave me a good message.
All right.
Nice.
Did you give it a grade?
Well, I gave it a 4.5 on 5. The entire song is it's a very heavy message, very captivating. I like the beat and the vocals and everything. The only problem I did have, though, is that the song sounds a little muffled. It just sounds like it sounds like when I was listening to it, it sounded like I was like cupping my ears and it was playing it like, I don't know, it just sounded muffled.
Okay.
But it wasn't like not clear. It just sounded low. Anyway.
I guess maybe it was like a lower budget, maybe something to do with production.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I'm not going to comment on that. I didn't notice it, but maybe it was your headphones?
Could have been.
Maybe?
Could have been.
Anyway, your opinion is valid. The mixing on this is clearly not at the same caliber as his later work.
Yeah.
But I also take that into account, that this is more of a lower budget album in that record. Anyway, that's just me. It is a valid point to make. On that note, it's cool when she has no makeup, her vice.
Trading on the way the eyeliner thickens. I stand behind her and try to figure her vision.
This song is a tearjerker, if there ever was a tearjerker.
I definitely wrote that it was very emo. So, I mean, you get that kind of feeling right away.
But it's also very perspective, and Kendrick is understanding certain things about women that they go through in terms of what the title of the song.
That's fair.
This is Keisha. that we're discussing in this song from track 11, Keisha's song. And we know that that's the case because Kendrick tells us is that in this song that the story gets continued, which it's fucking, it hits you hard. But I just, even the way it starts, I love the way you put it on your eyes. The roses on your face light up the sky. Those lips are colorful all the time, and girl, that's fine. But I want to know, do you mind? No makeup today. And he goes on with that hook. And
yeah, I'm both Colin, Munroe, and Kendrick. They're both kind of like, they want girls who are not wearing makeup or to not wear makeup.
But then, like, Kendrick kind of elaborates in that first verse where he's looking at this woman and he sees her and she's gorgeous and beautiful, but he sees the makeup on, and it's kind of like the whole point of what he's saying is it's weird. You look so great, but you wear all this makeup and it hides the individual differences that make you distinct and special, and makeup is confusing to him, but it's more than that.
He is definitely confused with that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a little more than that, right? Because he's implying that he starts wondering if there's a reason for it when he goes, I stand behind her and try to figure her vision of prettiness, the wittiness of colors on her skin tone, her complexion in a direction I've outgrown. Damn girl, why so much? You both to blow your cover when you cover up. Don't you know anyway, imperfection's a wonderful blessing. And then, like, it goes back into the cook, and then that second verse comes in where it's almost like the same story, only now we're in her head, and it's like literally the same scene replays out, only as Kendrick's kind of like saying this stuff, she's responding in her head with what she's actually thinking and shit.
Yeah.
And we start to find out shit. Honestly, it was
that she goes to say like, oh, because she's trying to cover up like a bruised eye, and then like he like cuts her off, kind of like he doesn't, he's kind of like, don't talk about that now.
Sorry, I wrote that part down. Sorry, okay. I don't mean to cut you off. I'm not trying to. I wrote it down. So yeah, I know your imperfections. I'd be constantly stressing, right? Because it's playing off of like the same part of the last verse, and it's basically the same verse only with her responding.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know the imperfections. I'd be constantly stressing from him is where I get it from. They tell me I need to smile at least once in a while. I hate my lips, my nose, my eyebrows. It's the beauty in me to be. What he don't see is that I had a black to be continued 11. And yeah, it's flipping the story like that, where he doesn't see why she wears the makeup, and it's got its point, and it's really, really sad and shit, and really fucking, it hits you hard once it clicks what this song's about.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting song. It was kind of like a voyeurish kind of like vibe that it gave me. Like, he's watching her, but like her boyfriend's like kind of like watching, like you could kind of like get that idea that she's being watched by like her boyfriend, and they're clearly in like an abusive relationship. I just thought it was like an interesting like everybody was kind of like watching everybody, and then she's just trying to like be hidden from like everybody's eyes by like having all this makeup on. Like, I didn't know if that was like quite like how it was. But it was a very interesting song, but like for me, like it was just like it was too like sappy and emo-y sounding. I think it was like the Colin guy who like I know you love him, but like for me, like he threw me off, and like I just felt like it was I don't know, it was like a whole different song, and it just didn't sound like Kendrick. But then I mean, he can rap with anyone. But anyways, and like he says, like ladies and gents, ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to like get drunk to have fun. So he's trying to like imply that you don't need like drugs, you don't need like.
So an interesting point about that is, in the same way that makeup is a synthetic way to enhance your image,
that's what the alcohol
is a synthetic way to enhance your fun.
Yeah. So I mean, it was just like that same sort of thing, like that's your cover up, like your alcohol or your drug dependency or your makeup, like that's all like a way to like kind of hide the truth from yourself, I guess.
Also, like being like, I don't drink, because he's pretty sober as I understand it, so he's also kind of, it's a cool double entendre I found.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, it wasn't my favorite just because of the Colin guy. And so I gave it a 3.75. I couldn't give it like a 4, and I couldn't give it a 3.5, so I kind of gave it like a middle ground.
For real?
Yeah, sorry.
I gave this a 5.
That's okay.
I think it was quite lovely.
Well, I'm agreeing with you on that 5. I as well gave this a 5 on 5. I think
I'm always the harsh one.
The honesty that Kendrick is displaying in terms of confusion on not understanding why this particular woman is wearing a lot of makeup, but I guess that on a broader scale, a lot of dudes kind of question why girls and their girlfriends wear a lot of makeup. It's not personally.
I don't
it's
think.
not a conversation that I've had with many women, I just kind of, I guess I got desensitized to, well, girls wear makeup, it's what they do. And listening to this song and understanding on the second verse when there's the double voice and the girl character seems to come play in, understanding that they're hiding what they feel is imperfect. They're trying to represent what like they're kind of being told to look like or what they see around them, and then in knowing that there is an abusive relationship that has been brought up in the song, they're also using their makeup to hide a lot of the scars and bruises that they don't want to show other people, but that does get cut off and continued on a later track. And
well, just to be clear, at this point in the story, Kendrick doesn't know this. This is what's in her head already.
I understand, but I'm also looking at it from what I already know, and the fact that like I'm really just touched on how like very honest it was, just how Kendrick played that innocent, that kind of like innocent boy card, like just I want to know, I want you to talk to me, I'm here for you, I'm here for you to talk to me, let me know what's up. And then when shit started getting serious, he was like, I kind of like cut her off in terms of like,
again,
you don't need to.
This was the voice in her head. Like, I don't think this was a conversation between Kendrick and this girl. This is like he's having this conversation from the first verse. So like I think it's the same conversation as the first verse. Kendrick says all those things. And then as Kendrick's saying those things, and I might be wrong, feel free to like let us know how this goes, but I feel like as Kendrick is saying these things, you're hearing like, but he doesn't know, and just his thoughts. And the narrator cuts off the song and says, we're going to continue it in song 11 to give you, the person, the context behind what this story is. We're going to get back to it later, which I thought was like a good move.
But I also thought that it was interesting that like he doesn't want her to like tell the truth, kind of like he kind of cuts her off before she can say like what's really going on. And so as much as he's listening to her, it's almost like he doesn't want to be listening to her.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think Kendrick was listening to her. I think the narrator of the album cuts her off so that we explore the story in track 11 with more detail, and that this was what was going on, because she's just saying it, right? And then the song kind of cuts and transitions into a whole new thing with no drinking. It's almost like the song ends and then this is more of an outro that gets attached to it, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I might be wrong. Do you guys know? I mean, this album's been out for fucking ever. I'm sure there's a few Kendrick fans out there who can clarify. Is Kendrick actually talking to her in the second verse, or is it the voice inside of her head? Let us know, and it can settle this conversation for us. So you give it a 5? I like the production on this song a lot. I think the beat's pretty solid, and that's cool. I get the emo vibe, but I think that's the brilliance of Kendrick.
I'm just not into like that kind of a sound, and so for me, like that's probably why like I gave it a lower grade.
All right, so I think we should maybe then move on to Tammy's song.
All right.
She gone. Matter of fact, Tyrone was on speed dial, so when she got home, it was going down.
Oof. This one's another interesting concept of a song. The chorus is an interpolation or redoing of a C Murder song.
Okay.
I'm not sure who C Murder is yet, but we'll probably get to him on our quest.
Yep.
This is an interesting track because verse 1 has this like high classy rich chick who has money going for her, and Kendrick meets her, but she's like, nah, I'm down for my man, you know? I'm down for him. He's my only guy. Till he cheats on her, and then she loses faith in him. And then girl 2 is a hood chick, all ghetto and stuff. Same kind of thing.
Well, didn't girl 1 go cheat on her man after as well?
Yeah, but that's...
And then, like, girl 2...
That takes away from the story by putting verse 5 before verse 3 and 4, you know? That's why he put it in this order of the verses he put them in, you know? Otherwise, man, you don't know how to tell a story. Like a vat. So verse 3 has the hood chick, right? And then the same kind of thing, and just describing how it's another girl, and then she's down for her man, and then the chorus flips up when the guy cheats on her, and then the chorus flips up, and it's first from down with him, and then fuck this guy instead of I'm down for him.
I just think it's interesting that like, you know, they're trying to show that like these girls, like these kind of tough girls, like from the hood, you would think that they're probably more resilient, but they're not. Like they, you know, end up getting screwed over by, you know, guys and getting hurt, and like, you know, they're just like everybody else.
So yeah, it's like but it's like women of the higher end and the lower end of this. It's kind of trying to say all women trust these men and are so ride or die with them, and then all these men just cheat and act in a
Cheat
bad
and
way.
lie, and it's just
And
bad
then
news.
there's the verse 5 Chris was spoiling previously, where the two women who have now been jilted meet each other and then take comfort in each other as opposed to other men, with almost the implication of, dudes, if you just treat women like shit, they're going to lose all trust in us and become lesbians.
So just
But I don't think it's quite like that. But I think that it's like an interesting
In the
idea.
extreme, that's the extreme version of how it's put out.
just to be fair, I wasn't trying to spoil that. I was saying, like, from what I got from the song, it's basically everything you said, but in each verse, these two girls end up going to find someone else because they're getting revenge and they're upset and they're,
But that only happens...
No, it happens in each individual verse.
No, that's what I'm saying, Chris. Verse 1, girl is super happy, and
then finds out that her man's
but
cheating.
she doesn't cheat on him. She then
She
gets really...
texts Tyrone.
So she texts Tyrone after she kicks him out and breaks up with him.
No, she texts Well, I
Or
didn't,
maybe
I didn't
in that one he
understand.
cheated. The second
Maybe
one,
I'm confused.
in the fourth verse, she punches him in the face and
Yes,
leaves.
one of the women punches one of their man in the face. The first girl in the first verse, she's living rich. She doesn't need no man. She's loyal to her man, and then her man starts cheating, and then she goes off and calls Tyrone because her man's
I'm pretty
acting
sure
up, so
she
she's gonna
ends
go
it
there.
first.
No, she goes and deals
not
with
double-
Tyrone.
I can't remember that.
Then on the second verse, the second woman, she's a hood girl. She's dealing with certain issues in the relationship. She finds out that her man's got magnums in his pocket. She
Yep.
flips out. The guy kind of just was like, yeah, you know, I've been fucking some other girl. No. And then
No big deal.
she pushes him, makes it physical, and then she runs off and does her own thing. And then
Oh, well, yeah, okay, so you're right. First she calls him on it, then he pleads the fifth and lies about it, then she says, well, fuck that, and calls the next guy who was on speed dial. So it's not clear if she broke up with him or cheated on him. It's just...
well, no, it's well, whatever.
I mean,
Whatever.
yeah, I guess in the context of the song Tyrone she's referencing, it's probably just fucking the next guy on the side. But after she established that he was going to lie over cheating with
But
Erica.
again, like what I'm trying to get at is that, and I wanted to bring up these 2 points, is because some people would be like, yeah, well, you know, like the guy cheated, but she did it too, and then
Okay.
that was like kind of how I first kind of took it. But then Kendrick comes and slaps you with the last verse, and he's like, well, to paraphrase, if men stopped being fucking morons, these girls wouldn't act like this, and these girls wouldn't do this, is what I got.
And,
might
like,
be right
you know,
about
one thing
the
that
other
she
one
does-
cheating too, actually.
And like,
Well,
you know, one thing
that-
that she says at one point
but
is like,
it's
"Don't
we-
judge me," like, you know, like she's trying to be
Right,
like,
I think that's at the beginning.
Yeah.
That's the beginning. Oh, because there's and in the beginning of the song, there's a really cool like transforming techno type weird communication. beat,
well,
like
it all
we're going
sounds
to
like an
alto thing.
old like video game. Like it
Yes,
sounds, that's what it sounds like.
yes, yes.
Like it's very.
And it was really cool. It was a really really cool song because, you know, going through high school, growing up, you deal with these type of things. Girlfriend cheats on you, boyfriend cheats on you, whatever happens. But in understanding why, I think a lot of us are trying to figure out why these things happen. We don't want to look at ourselves when we're dealing with this shit. And Kendrick's kind of just there like, look, your girl may have cheated on you, but what the fuck did you do to make her cheat?
Yeah.
How
Which
did
is-
you act?
Which is definitely reinforced in a later track when a certain friend kind of summarizes the album.
Yep.
So
Yep.
no, that's a really good point. I definitely do think that you make a point there. If they wouldn't cheat on us,
Look
if
at
they
you
didn't
getting
cheat
all those.
first. I still think at the end of the day, the idea of the track then transcends into the end where, because they don't trust men anymore, they find comfort in each other.
But that's also and I'm glad you brought that back. Thank you, because that also kind of growing up in for me while I was growing up high school again, I saw a lot of, you know, lesbian couples, and I always questioned. I was like, what like, I know you're born like that. I'm never gonna fucking discredit that. But I also want to, like, you know,
That's interesting.
does
I
it
never-
happen? Like, does it happen if you get a bad boyfriend? Like, I've heard jokes like, you know, your boyfriend sucked in bed that you went to girls or shit like that. But after
I
listening to this
definitely
song,
don't think that's a conversation worth pursuing here, Chris.
I'm not trying to bring up that
You
conversation.
can-
I'm just saying that with this
But it's
song,
like an
it
interesting
brings
idea.
like in light. It brings to light certain reasons of why maybe this is a thing.
That I agree with.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to
Okay.
say. I'm not trying to have any other conversation.
I was like, I don't know.
It's
where he's
just-
going.
Anyway, I
Yeah.
gave this track a 4.5 on 5.
I also
Alright.
gave it a 4.5 on 5. I thought it was a weird experience at the end of the day, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
not a bad song by any means. I actually really...
It's not a long song either. It's
but
just like
it
there's.
does... It kind of just feels like a piece of the album as opposed to any kind of a real standalone single or anything.
Yeah.
Whereas I felt like No Makeup stands by itself as a song as well as a piece of the album. And
I don't know. I could definitely see this as a single. Like I could definitely if I had
There's
to
other
speak to a
songs
younger
on
me,
this album.
if I had to speak to a younger me, a more stupider younger me, I would show him this song. And I think my relationship life may have been changed a little bit.
Interesting.
But that's why it wouldn't be a great single per se, because it's more of that. Whereas something like Rigamortus is a single, and so like there is a reason why I don't see a song like this ever becoming a single. And usually, deeper concept, abstract, weird songs don't end up being singles like that. I don't know. It fits the album to me. Like
Fair.
It is a strange beat. It's a good strange beat, but it is totally like if this. Do you guys think this is a single? Like you can.
I think that there's better songs on this album that could do the job of being a single much better than this one.
I agree
personally.
entirely.
Wait, are we talking single or standalone?
Well,
Same thing.
you said single. I think a standalone song by itself, like it comes on shuffle, this would be a very strange song to just randomly come across, is what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Maybe not single, but I'm gonna stick with standalone. I think that as a standalone song, it's still it does what it does.
I feel like at no time in my life would I go out of my way to listen to this song except for in the context of this album. That's me. And
Different
you?
music taste.
Okay. Yeah, I gave it a 4. As usual, I'm the low grader, but maybe I'm just more critical of like Kendrick and like what he can do and like his messages and stuff or something. But yeah, this wasn't my favorite one. Again, we haven't hit like the collection of songs that I think are like awesome. So we're leading up to that. So let's give the next one a little listen. It's chapter 6.
Finally heard the fire, and it burned in a barrel. I picture it now. Anyway, this kind of just repeats: riding with them boys and girls and we're high. All we want to do is have a good time. Young, wild, and reckless is how we live life. Pray that we make it to 21, 1, 1, and it just repeats that. The narrator guy kind of comes in the middle and segues. This was good. We kind of set up some emotional context for y'all. Now we're going to segue into the systematic part of the shit. And that's the purpose of this little interlude. So you kind of have that almost mantra of what he's put forward. We just get high to escape the pain and we do this blah, blah, blah. And then, okay, we've established that. Let's go in this direction now. And it's really pleasant to listen to. And as far as a interlude or a skit or whatever you want to call this is,
Yeah.
serves its function fucking perfectly. 4.5 on 5.
Cool. I mean, it's basically the same sort of thing. They're young, they're dumb, they think they're invincible, they live fast, they die, and they die young. And I think that they're also kind of like saying like the same sort of thing that Kanye said, where they're 21, 25. I'm guessing 21 was like the age of like.
Make it to 25.
Yeah,
like
so I think
Chuck
I think
Schumer.
it's the same sort of thing. Like like if you're, based on the stats of the 80s or whatever that he's talking about, like this is he's living to 21 and he's feeling good about that. He's made it there. Like it's an accomplishment to make it to your 20s. And anyways, so I just thought that was interesting. 4 on 5. It's another kind of like interesting song. I would listen to it. Not my favorite.
I give it a 4.5 on 5. I think that it's a very nice, smooth transition into another topic on the album. I think that as well, when the narrator cuts in the middle of the song to readdress the fact that we spoke about some emotional issues. We spoke about, and I think he says like her pain and her values. Her vice. And it's for me, it was also like, we're gonna move topics, but don't forget this topic. Don't just shun it away. This is still part of the story. This is good that we spoke about it. It's good that we got this out in the air, in the open. We will touch upon it, but we have to speak about this topic. And I think it did a very, very great job in smoothly changing the tone of the album. So 4.5 on 5.
Dope.
Cool.
Let's talk about the real crux of the 80s, the Ronald Reagan era.
You ain't heard nothing harder since Daddy came. Take it in vain, Vicodins couldn't ease the.
let's talk about the Ronald Reagan era.
Jeez.
So, just to be clear, like for anyone who might not know, in the Reagan era, the crack epidemic starts, the war on drugs starts,
Reaganomics.
The clear division of class divide takes place. A lot of other bad things happen under Reagan, and this song kind of paints the streets, right? Almost like this dystopian future of what would have happened if the Reagan era tactics really went like full force, or kind of like it almost felt like he was projecting into if it had never changed at all and it was still extreme, what it would be like today, and to a degree what it is like today.
Yeah.
But I did feel a bit of a dystopian future feel to it. And anyway,
and we have Ash Riser and RZA or Rizza.
RZA like did like 2 words, like he was barely there.
Yeah, he really was.
But I did put him in my little where I credit people, because in my opinion, if you do 2 words, a weird note, nobody seems to be credited on this album on Spotify, and I had, they are credited on Wikipedia, but not on Spotify.
Yep.
I wonder why Top Dog did that. I'm pretty sure they're responsible for the uploading.
Yep. I like the whoop de whoop, but I'm like, that's like the po-po coming.
Yeah.
And like that's just like the sound of like, the sound of the police. But yeah, I just thought it was like an interesting thing that, like they're in this hood and that they're just constantly hearing like all these trucks, like I guess police cars and stuff, because a lot of bad things are happening and police have to be there, and like this is just constant in his life, and Ronald Reagan is kind of like the cause of that in like a sense. So.
And I like how he brings up the gangs, because it's probably like a lot of the gangs in the state that they are as a result of this. So the fact that all of these gangs ain't nothing to fuck with, but they all fuck with Kendrick, even though he's not really in a gang, is a really cool idea too. Like he reports the music of these people is what I kind of took from that, which is really amazing. And then the only really like part from a direct lyric that stood out to me was at the very end when it was can't detour when you're at war with your city. Why run for it? Just ride with me. Just die with me at that gun store right there. When you fight, don't fight fair, because you'll never win. Yeah,
you'll get shot even if you run from it. And like it's just like you can't escape like the hood or like the trouble or whatever. It's just like that kind of like thought process that it's still like there's no running from it. It's everywhere. It's every turn like corner you turn, and it's just I don't know. I thought it was quite powerful. I gave this one a 4. I think I gave it a 4.5 on 5. I like this one. It's pretty good.
I only gave it a 4. Actually, I think it's conceptually top notch. I don't think there's a single
so much
song
catchy about this
on
song.
This album that's like conceptually off, and it's well written, but I don't like the beat that much, and I had a lot of trouble getting into the flow of the song.
Okay.
So it was a preference thing, not a quality thing.
Okay.
Interesting. Well, a few things that I like about this song. One, I like how there is the continuation of the young, wild, and free motto lifestyle. We're just kind of trying to do what we want to do and trying to live life to the fullest. And then there's a little Ab-Soul interlude. Ab-Soul kind of sets it up like, holy crap, something big's about to happen. We're about to go hard in this. We're about to get it.
And there's 80 keys under the bridge. Or whatever.
Yes. Well, 80 keys under the police building in Compton. That's how like heavy this is gonna be. And then Kendrick comes in just ripping everybody apart. And I feel like Kendrick takes upon this role of a gangster in his environment, and basically explaining what the gangsters have to do and why they're doing it, and what their reasons are for living the life they live. I like the line, I'm hungry, my body's antsy, I ripped through your fucking pantry. The play on word with antsy as ants. He's just coming through. He's also hungry. He's trying to eat everything in your kitchen, in your pantries. That was really cool.
Yep.
I like the other line. The other line, which was really funny to me, was, in retrospect, I remember December being the hottest. Squad cars, neighborhood wars, and stolen Mazdas. How like, even in the winter, things were so heavy, and there was just a lot of action going on. And when you think,
to be honest, let's just say their winter is not like our winter.
Well, right, but when you think of winter, you still think of like cold season.
It's still a good line, Bonnie.
Yes,
yeah,
it's supposed to be cold. They're not out there in -40 and like, I'm still being a bad guy. They're like, no, it's too cold.
And then what really, really kind of got to me as well was at the end when Ab-Soul was like, I had the yappa, so I shot him. like it's so common. Like if you have a gun, just use it. Like this is what we're supposed to think. And Kendrick, previous to that, was kind of like explaining how we're desensitized to murders. And then you have Absol in his, and I like Absol because he's got this very high pitched voice, which he can use to sound a little bit like a kid. So the way he took it on, he was like, I got the yappa and I killed him. It sounded like a kid was saying that, like a kid who just found a gun and shot somebody, like it's so normal from where they come from. And that was really powerful a little bit for me. So I gave this a 4.5 on 5.
Cool.
That's cool. So let's talk about the Poe Man's Dreams, his vice.
You'll be looking in my eyes, homie. Stand for something or fall for anything. And you working.
You know what? This song made me feel like...
What?
Like Good Kid, Mad City, the albums, like Prelude. Like he's kind of just describing like the protagonist or somebody in this environment, like why people end up being peer pressured almost into a certain way of life. Like I used to see the penitentiary way after elementary, thought it was cool. Like just think about that, right? Like you got to go to jail. You got to be like that. It's the way it is. To go to crime life, to look the judge in the face when he sentenced. Since my uncle's was institutionalized, my intuition had said I was suited for family ties. Like this is the way it is. In the same way that Chris was just describing. I don't know. Other lines like stare at the sun and you'll be looking in my eyes, homie. Stand for something or fall for anything, and you wonder, and you're working with 2 left feet at the skating rink, and it's just like, oh shit, It's interesting how he can like take these super deep principles of what you're supposed to be and how everything just kind of fumbles out into like the most basic of things, how just anyway. And you like to mistake a street for a real, the same that will kill you will squeal with you. I like to start it from the bottom and build with you, be on my last dollar and split the bill with you. And it's like you can see how Kendrick's like observing just the way people treat each other and the way these men behave in this environment, which is kind of like something I feel like he explored in depth on Good Kid, Mad City, in that environment that he's surrounded in. So that's why it gave me that kind of parallel feeling there, even though this whole album kind of is a precursor to that album. It's almost like you get the sense that he's looking around and sees how everyone treats each other, and he's not okay with it. He's just commentating. But if you couple it with the Ronald Reagan song, so that song kind of justified that this is the reality in the environment. And then this song kind of personalizes it to an individual level and says, this is the vices. This is like, isn't this where it starts off with like the food, the whatever?
No, smoke good, drink
Right,
good,
right.
eat. No, smoke good, eat good, live good.
And
He's trying to just talking to like the people who are in jail, like he wants people to like.
But it's poor people.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's just the people in jail, because even that chorus, right?
Yeah.
If you're poor, your definition of living good is if you can smoke good and you can eat good, and that's accomplishment in your life.
It's what I and that's what I took from it.
Mm-hmm.
But I also took like Kendrick is explaining how there is people in this world who unfortunately are poor and who also unfortunately have to kind of accept this life. They kind of feel trapped that they don't have money or there is no way out. That, you know what's a good day today? When I got to smoke my spliff. That's a good day. Or, you know what's a good day? I fed 4 burgers to my family. And it's like, that's living good. And they're living in this mentality that this is okay. And what Kendrick's trying to do is trying to bring light that this lifestyle is not okay. And there needs to be a change. And I'm not directing it to anybody individually that needs to change it. There is other powers that need to be changed and take effect. Society, government, all that.
Well, if you think back to Fuck Your Ethnicity, where the premise was, what do you stand for, and all of that. And then I think what Kendrick's trying to imply is paralleling that same idea here by saying, you consider your vices accomplishments. But I look around and see a bunch of people who aren't necessarily really achieving what they're supposed to be. We're not thinking in like a family unit kind of way. Everyone's just trying to get theirs. It's indulging these vices. So when he brings up those things like smoking and eating good, but that's a vice, right? That's like indulging in these immediate things. It's like the instant gratification. I don't know. It's really, and it just, when he goes, I like to start out from the bottom and build with you, be on my last dollar and split the bill with you. It almost sense like Kendrick wants everybody to rise up together and work together, and he almost feels like nobody else seems to be doing that in their pursuits of their lifestyle.
But I just think that it's interesting because I think he's kind of saying that, like, when I was young and, when I was he just thought that it was normal and that that's what he was supposed to do and that's what he was supposed to want, was to have that kind of like crazy life and to commit crimes and to go to jail. And then now he's kind of looking at it and like, no, he doesn't want to go to jail. He wants to make better choices. He wants to inspire. He wants to, do something better. And like, I think like the whole thing also is that in sort of in the middle there, in the middle ground when he was changing, is that he started questioning God. And I think that, a lot of people question God. And I think that this is something that, he's talked about on, many of his albums. And that, he is a Christian, but it's kind of like now he has to kind of go back to that. Like, he was probably brought up quite Christian, and then he kind of has to go back to that because he's trying to change, and he's trying to get better, and, he sees that God is a good way to help, and, he's just kind of trying to promote that and trying to give like something positive to like listen to, that, he wants people to change and not go to jail.
Yeah, it's definitely not a song promoting vices. It is a song promoting change and
I think also
a perspective shift.
Reagan was maybe part of the cause that like so many, black people and people from like the hoods ended up in jail in the first place. So I think that that's interesting that he's looking at all these penitentiaries, that he's looking at all these jails, and then he's kind of like, what the fuck? Like, I don't want that life. Like, I'm getting away from that.
Well, just a little bit of touch upon that specific point. Growing up, a lot of the music videos we listen to, a lot of what we see on TV and what we would kind of introduce to in our social worlds is a lot of criminal activity. Now, I'm not saying that I'm sitting here watching gangsters on TV fucking rob each other, but a lot of the TV and a lot of the social media, there is a lot of like little antics that do happen. And when you start off with little antics and you kind of grow up, you see the other bigger antics, the last place you think is really cool is jail. And for the longest time, I personally, as a young kid, I thought it was cool to be...
I think it's like, you're not wrong, but I think part of where Kendrick's going is like all of my family and friends went to jail. So this is how I'm supposed to be. And he specifically mentions how his like uncles were institutionalized, so he has to like follow through with it. Yeah. So, you're not wrong that there's media influences out there that encourage criminal behavior, but I do think that this song is more exploring the impact of the system that was imposed over the Reagan era on the mentality of individuals in a much more direct way than Grand Theft Auto encourages violence.
Right.
Because that's more in line with how I perceived what you were going with, which you're not wrong in like maybe it does. I'm not.
Well, I'm not trying to make that a direct point. I'm just saying like that is what I got from that line was just like I can understand how people think that going to jail or being this is glorified and it's a good thing because of the way that
it's not about like glorification. It's more this is how it's supposed to be. Like I think how you expressed it on the last song directly carries over into this song. And that it's not like, oh, the media told me I have to do it. It's more like, as Bonnie was saying, he felt like this was the way life was and then had to reflect.
He's kind of just showing you like his world, and then like his world is changing because he himself is changing and he wants to be something better than what is supposed to be his destiny.
Right. Anyway, yeah, so I give this one a 4.25. I think it's a really good song, but like from a sounds point of view, it's just not exactly my, like again, it's something in the set of this album I'm really into, but the last few songs are just not my cup of tea musically.
Okay, I gave this one a 4 on 5.
So did I. 4 on 5.
All right, let's talk about the Spiteful Chant.
Okay.
I like this song. I like it more. I feel like it's got more energy. Basically, the crux of this song is Kendrick ain't got time for your shit. Like, if you're not really, like, here and you're not real, he's going to know it. He's not going to waste his time, etc. If you listen really closely, and maybe it's just because of the Genius annotation I saw, the way he says suck my dick kind of sounds like someone did in the way he kind of loosely does his inflection. So if you go, suck my dick, someone did, it's very similar. And if you listen for it in the way, because it kind of is interesting, like all these people are trying to suck his dick, metaphorically, right?
Okay.
So I feel like it's pretty straightforward, but it's really good, right? Like, there's a few lines I dug, like, now blow up, blow up, blow up, hold up, I've seen your kind before, see me as a dollar sign till I resign or you report that I done you wrong, and I mean to know, right? Like, he like that, and I mean to know is kind of like, he's like, I'm gonna figure this out, because I'm not gonna waste my time fucking around with your shitty ass, and people are just seeing him, like, either for the money or they're down for the grind, and he's gonna differentiate and whatnot, or everybody heard that I fuck with Dre, and they really want to tell me I made it. Ain't made shit. If he gave me a handout, I'm gonna take his wrist and break it. Now this is an interesting thought, because even on the last review, I thought that honestly Kendrick got a hookup from Dre or whatever. No, apparently Kendrick did not get that hookup from Dre. Kendrick just did his thing, and Dre just signed some papers. Is how I kind of almost understand it. Like,
Yeah, I think so.
Dre only even produced like one beat off of the Good Kid, Mad City album. Or something I found out after the fact. It's just interesting how Kendrick, even though he had the hookups, didn't want to take the hookups, because it was more important to prove that he could do it himself, because he knew he didn't need the hookups.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what he's saying, that he doesn't, he's fine on his own. He doesn't care about any of you haters or people who are wasting his time. He's just like, suck my dick, deal with it, whatever. I'm going to go be me. I'm going to be amazing. I'm going to go keep grinding, and I'm going to go kill it. And too bad for all of you losers. And that's basically like what he's saying. And ScHoolboy Q is like featured, and he's like pretty hard and cool too. Like he's pretty good.
His album was dope.
Really?
Honestly, ScHoolboy had this dope ass line with, motherfuckers, see how far I came here, went broke, and I came up in the same year. Can I get a hell yeah or whatever? Just
hell yeah.
But like, it's an interesting thought, right? Because I feel like we're so risk adverse in our culture, and we try to play it safe and listen to shitty common sense from broke people and things like that. And it's just like, you see these guys going for it. They flip their perception, and they're doing these wise choices, and they're seeing the payoff as well. Like, this song is kind of like where the culmination of Kendrick's perspective change is starting to pay off for him almost a little bit, right? So you've got this story where he's painted the world he's coming from, and this is like the changing point here. And you just see, now he's got to deal with people who are almost jealous and petty, and this song stood out to me, right? It's one of the few where, like, I really felt like it has its own identity. And it might not be my favorite song, but it was definitely one that you when your first playthrough, you're like, wait, what is that? That one was distinct. Anyway.
Cool.
4.5 on 5 for me.
Yeah, I also gave it a 4.5 on 5. It's just him calling out, bitches, but I mean, I guess in the term of men.
I give it a 5 on 5. I think the production and the sampled song they use is great. The sampled song, by the way, is Wood Kid Iron, or it's whatever. I don't know who's the band or who the name of the song is, but that's the song that was sampled.
Okay.
I like the Kendrick Lamar / ScHoolboy Q line. Made a mixtape and it sold like an album, justifying that they don't really care what people think. They don't really give a shit what you have to say.
It also might be a reference to the Drizzy line, dropped a mixtape, that shit sounded like an album. Who'd have thought a countrywide tour would be the outcome? Just saying.
That too.
It might be. That's how. Sorry, it was just because the Genius annotation literally said, and it might be.
I know what the Genius annotation said, but that's besides the point. I really like the heaviness on this track. ScHoolboy Q does not sound the same from when I listened to his album Oxymoron, and that was very interesting to hear a younger voiced ScHoolboy Q instead of the heavy raw gangster's voice he uses now. Yep. But yeah, no, you guys basically cleared the whole entire track. I mean, Kendrick Lamar is basically stating that I'm going to do this on my own. I don't need to take handouts. I like the handout part with Dre because he's kind of like, look, you think I took a handout from Dre? I didn't, but just look at it and realize that Dre was about to give me a handout. That's how good I am. Like, that's so true. It's kind of like interscoped in that. That was pretty cool.
Get it? And Interscope. Who signed Aftermath?
Interscope Records.
I'm on the ball. But actually, I just really like the chorus. I'm going big, suck my dick. That was just really cool to chant out. And yeah, no, 5 on 5.
All right, let's talk about chapter 10.
All right, let's do it.
This is the next interlude thing, going to the next song and breaking up the album. I liked it. This is pretty much all that was there. Babies from the 80s don't know better. Nothing go better with ignorance, but the belligerent kids that we live in with, some of them masculine, some of them feminine, members of the universe used to be innocent. Now they just look at us crazy like immigrants every day that I wake up. I'm a sin again. I'm not a citizen. I'm just from Section 80. And he's kind of now like, it's almost like he's putting himself out there. Like he's explained to you what Section 80 is. And how people now kind of look at him a little bit differently around the rest of the world. He's like, yo, I'm just this guy from here, you know? And I think it was really well done. I like the way Kendrick flows it. I like the little dude at the end continuing the story. I think this is where he asks you to take notes, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, it is.
And, I gave this one a 5. I thought it was really cool. It had that weird video gamey beat, but it wasn't annoying. It was really on point.
Mm-hmm.
I just like this one. I think that it was interesting. I took down this one note. Every day that I wake up, I'm a sin again. And then he says, I'm not a citizen. I'm just a N-word from Section 80. And I thought that was interesting, that like he's kind of just saying like he is who he is. You know, you can kind of like take the hood out of the boy, but you can't take the boy out of the hood kind of like deal, where he's just like, this is just about everybody. And he's just trying to like not use that so much as like, you know, like where he's from or what he's, you know, where he grew up or whatever. He's trying to not use that as like his like main goal, you know, like he's trying to be better than that. And that's what I think he wants everybody else to be better than that. So I like that. Yeah. And the narrator was there. He was there, you know, making sure everyone was taking notes. So yeah, I gave this one a 4 on 5. It's a quick song. There's not really too much to say about it besides that.
This is a 4.5 on 5 for me. Strictly because of the ending. The Kendrick Lamar does a great time on that double time pace. It was really cool to hear him go that quick. He basically just validates who he is and where he's from, Section 80, kind of coping with everyone else from Section 80, as he likes to call it. But what really got to me was the part where the narrator in this album is he asks everybody who's ever taken notes to kind of stop, and he's kind of like telling them to forget the paper, like don't even worry about the notes, and what you need to do is you need to embrace yourself, who you are, where you come from, what made you who you are today, the products of your environment that you've become, and let that out. Be who you are and be who you need to be and find yourself. It's kind of like saying that nobody can teach you this shit. You can't learn this in school or take notes. Yes, you can learn it from hip hop, you can learn it from Kendrick, you can learn it from whatever, but these...
Well, I think that he's saying you can't. You were right up until that point.
I understand. The reason why I said that is because Kendrick is not. I don't think Kendrick is learning. Like he didn't sit in a class and learn what he's telling us.
Yeah.
He's telling us from personal experience.
Yeah.
I think the point of what you're saying is be true to yourself and go learn was good. I'm saying the part where and then you contradicted yourself to say, but you can go learn it in all these other places is wrong. Well, you're right.
That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to be contradicting. I'm saying like you can learn from things, but like that's what I was following up on. Kendrick didn't. I don't think Kendrick sat in a class and learned what he told us on this album already. Yeah. I think he's doing it out of personal experience. So in terms, what I'm learning is somebody's personal experience, hands-on in the situation. Yeah. I'm still not like in school.
Yeah,
which is cool. All of that was good. It was just the part where you flipped your script a minute that was not as good to me. Anyway, that's fair.
Yeah. All right.
So next up is Keisha's song.
Keisha's song. I think
maybe it's Keisha's. My
Keisha.
bad.
And sure enough, don't see a dime of dirty dollars. Just give it all to her daddy, but she don't know if I.
So now we got the part 2 or the follow up to our no makeup track.
Yeah.
In Keisha's song.
Featuring Ash Riser.
And Keisha is a prostitute who is 17, and we know this because of the line. And she captures features of a woman, but only 17. The 7 cars start honking, and she start running like FloJo. They don't care if they Joe blow. If they got money to blow, a blowjob is a sure go. And sure enough, don't see a dime of dirty dollars. She give it all to her daddy, but she don't know her father. That's ironic. And her daddy in this case is obviously her pimp, and he's taking all of her money. So she's doing all of this and handing it all to him, which is just like, you're like, oof, okay. And then... So verse 1 kind of sets up the context of who he is, and then verse 2, it goes a little deeper with the police and how, the police are gonna take their thing and
Like if she doesn't want to be like go to jail, that she has to like basically do stuff to please the cops.
So like remember the sergeant let her slide, said if he seen what's between her thighs he'd compromise. To no surprise she took the automaton around the alleyway and gave him a warm welcome that fell right below the navel. Though he was wired up like a pair of jumping cables, his eyes was closed. Prior charges he had waived them. So he just does a regular thing like, you don't want to go to jail. Anyway.
Yep.
And then the third verse or whatever, I don't know if it was the second or third actually.
It's the third one, yeah.
And you can blame it on her mother for letting her boyfriend slide candy under the cover. 10 months before she was 10, he moved in, and that's when he touched her. This motherfucker is the fucking reason why Keisha rushing through that, and then proceeds to how the song ends, where she's in the car and she gets stabbed in the gut by the guy and dies.
And she's raped and she dies, and and like Kendrick's kind of like wondering why girls do this, and it's because of pain. Like this is why she's doing this, like that she's suffering. It's more than what it appears to be, like on like at first glance, I guess. There's a lot more going on. I really liked the hook for this one. That was by Ash Reiser. He says, fancy girls on Long Beach Boulevard flagging down all of these flashy cars. And he sounds kind of like an 80s crooner kind of, or like Rod Stewart or somebody. Like he sounds like someone like singing like that. And I thought that was just like an interesting touch, that it sounded so like just a crooner telling another story. But like, it's this like horrendous story about this girl who's a prostitute, and she ends up getting like killed and raped. And then he writes this song more directly for his 11-year-old sister. Kendrick writes this, and he says, at the end, he says, my little sister, 11, I looked right into her face the day that I wrote the song, sat her down and pressed play, because he doesn't want her. This is like a big, big warning. Like he doesn't, just because she's from the hood and, she sees these kinds of girls and bad things happen, that this is not the right, choice for her, and that, she needs to, and that she's better than that. She doesn't need to be a prostitute. And I think that, I think he just wants her to avoid that. And I thought that was such a powerful message, that he wrote this and he wrote it for her, and then he, made it and pressed play. And then, like, I really hope she listened.
It's really interesting, right? Because if we look at the context of the story, so this is Kendrick's first move after coming into himself as a rapper.
Mm-hmm.
And that just clicked. Like, his first thing he does is writes this song for his sister to avoid having this happen. Like, that's really good album placement.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that this was amazing. Like, it really, like you're like, wow, like, damn, like, this is, like, like, heartfelt, and, he means it, and he just doesn't want her to, like, be in any trouble. And I thought that this was amazing. So it's definitely a 5 on 5.
I agree. Straight 5. It hits you in the feels, and it's... One of the things is that all the verses kind of start and end the same way, except for how it ends that one time in a bad way. And that hits real home, like, because it is an interesting meta way to look at the verses.
Yeah.
The song is a 5 on 5. It's a very powerful song, a very powerful ending to track 4, No Makeup, Her Vice, in understanding the environment around them, and in understanding the systems that have been going on and things that have been happening. This is a very great way to connect the story on why she wears makeup and the life that she has. Finding out that she's 17 is very shocking and very striking. That is a very young age to be partaking in this type of lifestyle and having to do these type of things. So to get by or to live, or even if you feel like you have to do this because of any traumatizing situation that may have happened in your past when you were younger, it's a very emotional song, very passionate song. The fact that, yes, Kendrick did sit down with his 11-year-old sister and made her listen to this and trying to show her, like, this is what can happen if you don't, make good decisions. Or
I think also, too, that he's saying, like, like, this girl, she gave up her morals. She lost her morals. And I think you need to, like, hang on to them. I think that's kind of something, too.
The other thing, too, is I also want to bring up the fact that, like, I feel like it's also tied into, again, like men fuck up and make really bad decisions, because and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's the uncle that moved in and slipped something.
Well,
under
the uncle,
Okay,
I think it's like
right,
her.
So I think that is tying into the consequences of
That it's
Section 80.
the man did
Because
this.
in the 80s, when she was a little girl, her mom basically let this guy rape her for cocaine. That's the byproduct. And so because she was scarred over the epidemic of Section 80, she proceeded to go through this lifestyle to
Well, 'cause
But I
for
do
her,
think
etc.
that she doesn't have a lot of good role models, and I
Right.
think Kendrick wants to be that role model for his
Exactly.
like his little sister, and just like everything that he's saying. Oh, I lost my train of thought. But anyways,
No, but like, yeah, so like the point of this song is to go like, this is what happens if you lose your way. It might seem like this is glamorous or glorified. So in a sense, you could look at hoeing as the woman version of dealing in the context of this story. So it's like, if you go down that street path, it might look glamorous. You might look like you get whatever, but really you're giving money to a pimp and you're doing all of these other things because
you're being fancy, but like, and it seems like like a cool thing that somebody from the streets could do to make some money.
Yeah.
But really, every single guy, the guys who she's the Johns or whatever, the guys that she's sleeping with, and the cops and the uncle and her her pimp, and like all these guys are just not good for her, and like
Right.
they're the ones controlling her life.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I do, yeah, that's how it is. It's kind of like a warning song of what happens if you pursue this. But again, with the sense of you're better than this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of at the end of the day, to his sister, don't go down that path. You don't know how it ends. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is followed up by Rigamortus, which is kind of something to do with this song.
You got a hell of an appetite, and I'ma be here for a while. Just buckle up before the ride, or knuckle up if you.
This is like the second Kendrick Lamar song I ever heard back in like 2012 or 13 when I first listened to Kendrick.
Okay.
And I was blown away by the speed, right? Because it's that part where he goes fucking crazy at the end. And
Yeah.
what this song is, now that I've really paid attention to it, is Kendrick's gonna body your favorite rapper. And it's a pure skill flossing, I'm a body you fucking song. And it's
What does that mean? He's gonna body you?
He'll kill you on your
Oh.
own
okay.
track.
Oh,
So I
okay.
learned that in the context of Big L, when he says I already body like 36 people, I already got 36 bodies, so make
Oh,
it
right.
36. That meant knocking people out. But I think in the context of this song, it meant like rap, like he's gonna kill your favorite rapper. He's like, he's gonna take your guy, and he's gonna be.
Whenever
gonna
you
take that
get
place.
bodied, just picture the body bag is closing with the victim in it. That's basically
okay.
what
I
body
mean,
means.
yeah, in a literal way, but in the sense of you're being killed or defeated by Kendrick the Mighty
Maybe like
Rapper.
your favorite rapper is getting like knocked out of first place, and Kendrick's gonna
That's
like okay.
bodying.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
but
right, cool, I
so
got it.
he's basically destroying your favorite rapper's legacy by destroying and killing their career by rapping so much better that how could you even listen to your favorite rapper after Kendrick destroyed this song? You know?
Bodied him.
Right. So I don't know. There's just tons of lines, but it's really the flow of this song that sells it. And
It's just like a kind of like self promotion.
You know?
Like he's a killer. Like he's so good. And like he goes fast. He goes hard. He goes clear. Like you can understand everything that he's saying. And I think it's just kind of like his like flossing kind of a
You
song.
know what really grabbed my attention? It's the way it starts. Got me breathing with dragons. I'll crack the egg up in your basket, you bastard. A man, the manson with madness. Not just imagine the magic. I like to ask us. Don't ask for your favorite rapper. He dead. Yes, sir. Amen. Church. He dead. I killed him. Amen. Yeah, you're just like, he drops dragons, Marilyn Manson, and kills your favorite rapper in like the fucking beginning of this song.
Yeah.
And then he just like flows into the verses. I also really dig that I rapped him and made him Casper. I captured the lights in NASA. My pedigree is if I pass the, I'll pass the weed to the pastor. We are all sinners. Won't you just send us the Bible to study faster? You're a hypocritisk reaction of blasphemy. And it's like, his language is on point in terms of complicated shit. Like
Yep.
he's
It's
what
like
he's
smart.
saying
It's
is
well.
interesting.
Yeah. It's well done.
I don't know, man. This track, I think it's a clear classic jam. Like in what it is. This is a single. This has
Yeah.
that catchy hook that draws you in, but it's dry in that Kendrick way, so it stands out. That beat, I mean, if you consider what was popping in 2008 or 9, 2011 even still, nothing kind of sounded like this. So it was like,
Well, it's a bit more jazzy feeling too, like mixed in with like this like hardcore, like he's gonna like fuck up everybody, and like he's I don't know. I just thought it was so good. He's just
yeah, it really
it's a
was.
5 on 5.
I agree. It's a 5. when he I don't know. There's nothing wrong with this song.
Like, it just makes me want to dance when I hear it. I'm like, like it's good.
4 on 5.
What?
Well,
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's a great song. He's flossing. He's good at what he does. He's a very technical rapper. He's got crazy punchlines. Just preference. I was like, okay, it's a good track. It's a good single. It's a great thing. I just prefer other songs. So 4 on 5.
okay.
All right, let's talk about Kush and Corinthians.
It go 1, 2, 3, 2 in the front, 1 in the back.
It's worth noting that the 2 books of Corinthians really talk about social justice and behaviors, not justice, social behaviors and the way you're supposed to act amongst people, and that there's a certain irony to getting high and reading the Bible that's worth just noting.
Oh, there's also a Bible on the cover of the album. There's also that.
The whole getting high and reading the Bible, he's just trying to allude to the concept that even if you're a Christian, you don't have to read the Bible to find escapism. There is other ways of finding escape. If you're smoking a joint, that's your way.
In and of itself, if you're a super Christian type, you shouldn't be smoking a joint. So it's ironic that you're smoking a joint and going to the Bible. Anyway, for me, I'm a loser, I'm a winner, I'm good, I'm bad, I'm a Christian, I'm a sinner, I'm humble, I'm loud, I'm righteous, I'm a killer. What I'm doing, I'm saying that I'm human, not people just whatever. I didn't actually write anything like that, but it's amazing because that is an interesting reflection. Now, I can kind of understand a little bit of the self-righteousness of Christians and how people perceive in the boxes that come from it. So when I hear that, I think back to the church days and how everyone's kind of a sinner. But in that environment, everyone is also kind of elitist and assholey, and it pretends like they're all whatever. But I like the fact that Kendrick is human, and he sells himself as both a winner and a loser. And anyway, all these contradictions that he puts in is really fun and interesting. I really like, but why must we retaliate? Is it human nature? I don't know. I look for the answers later. Make it right. There they go. Sometimes gotta. And that thought is amazing. Like, in the middle of these hood and these environments where they have these big questions they got to figure out, like, should we really be killing this person who shot our boy right now? You know what? We'll think about that later. Let's go kill them in the meantime because they're right there. Blew my mind. It's the type of shit that I've never lived through, that I'm probably never, hopefully, going to have to live through. And in those moments, it really makes you wonder, like, it's in moments like that where shit like white privilege makes a lot more sense to me, because I kind of had the time to think about stuff instead of worrying about my life getting shot at. And that's where you really start to see, like, the differences I find. For anyone who might have thoughts on that, whatever, you can tell us. The last thing I wrote down here was, I'm dying inside. I wonder if Zion inside is heaven. A condom, a rollie, pain, a fat blunt, and a Mac 11. That's all I see in my life. They tell me to make it right, but I'm right on the edge of Everest, and I might jump tonight. Have you ever known a saint that was taking a sinner's advice? Well, it's probably you. Am I right? If I'm wrong, you a fucking liar.
I think that's nice that he he kind of lets his listeners be called saints. I think that's what he is, and he's the sinner, you know?
Well, I think that line is interesting. Have you ever known a saint that was taking a sinner's advice? So if you are a saint, you are not taking a sinner's advice, because if it's you, if you're saying that you are that person or whatever, you're a fucking liar.
But I think that he just wants people to, like, make better choices, because you're going to die on the streets if not. And, like, don't compare yourself to others. Be you. Make the decisions that will help you, and, like, not, what should be, just do whatever you think is the right thing. And I thought that it was interesting, like, the whole, he's questioning religion, and we have, like, I don't know, I like the song that it was hard and it was soft at the same time. And we have BJ, the Chicago kid, who I've come across before, and I guess we have at some point. I don't remember what else he was but the name is very familiar. And he comes in, and his friend Nico overdosed, causing him to have all these kind of repercussions. So it's kind of like everything just kind of falls into everybody else's hands. Like, if you get screwed over, or if you die, or if you get killed, and it sucks. Like, it doesn't sound like a very fun life to be living. And I think that he just wants people to get out of that, and again, be better and change. And he said it over and over and over again in all of his albums, be better. And I think that that's what he wants everybody to listen to. I think this is a very powerful song. I gave it a 5 on 5.
5?
Yeah.
I give it a 4.5 on 5. It was a powerful song, but again, on the interest front, it's a little more R&B and singy. I like BJ, the Chicago kid. He's not bad. He's just, his part is totally not my cup of tea musically. Fun fact, on BJ, the Chicago Kid's later album, there's his pain, because this is also his pain in the parentheses, I believe, or it's describing it. And his pain part 2 featuring Kendrick Lamar comes out. So it's a continuation of this particular track. And it hits hard. Like, it's one of those, I just love the image of him sitting there burning a spliff and reading the Bible and contemplating life. Like, just that idea is something that probably happens more often than, you know, Christians want you to think. But it's a good message, a good song.
Yep, for sure.
Well, what I took away from this song was a message of trying to find hope and finding an escape for the better. And again, with the smoking a joint and reading the Bible, I mean, to some people, smoking weed is an escape. To some people, reading the Bible is an escape. And bringing those two together, I mean, it's a sinful act and a saintful act. When you're sinful smoking, saintful reading the Bible. And I like the complexity of being able to somewhat kind of be both and becoming unified as your own person.
I think that it's like an overarching theme for Kendrick, that he, you know, he's always questioning what religion can do for you and what religion is doing for you. And I think that it's, you know, everybody has their own interpretation, and it doesn't have to be so perfect and cut and clear.
That's a main part of it too. Like, in terms of religion, there's also like the Quran, the Bible, and I don't know, I forgot the other one.
The Old Testament?
Mm-hmm.
The Torah?
Yes, the Torah.
The Old Testament.
They're all interpreted differently. They're all different. They all have different.
I would again. I don't think you're educated enough to continue on this line of thought. You're right. Everyone interprets stuff from the Bible, and all religious text comes to get a certain perspective of peace from them. But let's leave it there before we start going down specifics that might piss off certain people.
Okay.
Just because, you know. Anyway, but as for this song, do you have further thoughts?
As per the song, I just like the complexity of it, trying to be one but also living with the other. Trying to be a good person but also kind of dealing with struggles and negativity and making bad decisions thinking they're for good reasons.
All right. So would you give it?
4 or 5.
All right, let's talk about Blow My High, members only.
Drums and I'm dancing on them stars. The galaxy ain't got room for y'all. Ain't nothing.
I had a lot of trouble like getting the total message of this song. I think it
was just dedicated to Aaliyah.
That's part of it, definitely.
Yep.
I think it's a good song in terms of sounding really awesome. Like it's really fun to listen to this one. There were a few lines that really stuck out to me, but I really don't understand the crux of this song. So anyway.
It's pretty. Basically, Kendrick's at the top, and if you're going to be talking shit, it's not going to affect him. He's breaking down how he's doing it all by himself, how him and his team, it's better off saying that, him and his team are doing it together. They're not taking handouts. They're not trying to piggyback off of anybody. They're not really dealing with any of the fake people in the industry. If you're fake, they're not going to want to fuck with you. They don't want you kind of tainting their vibe and tainting where they are at the moment. In terms of not blowing out his high, I mean, being this popular, being this famous, being wherever he is at this time, and the social status could be a very pressuring thing. It could also be a very popular thing. He could be very, very popular. And when you're at that level of status, I think Kendrick's trying to just say, like, don't be trying to blow out my candles if I'm this high out. You know what I mean? Like,
and I think that is also something to do with Aaliyah, that, you know, she died probably at her peak, you know, when she was, you know, rising up. And, you know, she, you know, if you don't already know.
Don't they reference the Aaliyah song?
Yeah, they sample it. They like they mention
what they say is, and
R.I.P. Aaliyah.
But they preface that with everybody saying it, and I wonder if they're kind of commenting on how it's fashionable to like be R.I.P. Aaliyah.
Well, it's not even R.I.P. Aaliyah.
But I mean, it was like 10 years later or something.
Like spells her name
and there's a
and then he quotes her.
So horrible.
He has like he literally interlopes her song. There's a couple of lines that really struck out to me because there is a sense of, don't fucking be jealous. I guess don't be jealous of me because I'm winning, and it's your own fault you're losing a little bit. Like, look,
Well, he doesn't want anybody to. He doesn't want any pussy asshole N-word messing with him. He got bitches all up in his business and an industry full of counterfeits. So those are all the people that he's not fucking with. Just to be clear.
and then he's got lines like, "Look at my life, then look at yours. Get some ambition. Why are you bored?" Serious question. How's anybody got time to be bored? Being bored literally means, and this might be ironic because you might be watching us while you're bored, and if you are awesome fucking people. But if you are bored on a more critical front, it's because you are choosing to do nothing.
They're doing research.
No, but you are choosing to do nothing if you are bored. That is what boredom is. You're in a you are never in a position where you have to be bored. You might be in a position where you're not doing the most interesting shit, but you being bored as a person means you are not moving in life. Because once you start moving in life, there's too much shit to do to be bored is something I have definitely come to learn. So that fucking like hit me real hard. And then time will never wait on no man. Society will never hold your hand. That's true. So if you busy wasting time being bored, you're never gonna get anywhere. And that's cool. I like that line. Another one was like taking off when you landing, bitch. Gonna throw tantrums and I'm dancing on them stars. The galaxy ain't got room for y'all. Ain't nothing gonna happen soon for y'all while I'm here, and every day I hear your bullshit self-pity. So yeah, when people just whine and complain and go on about the blah blah blahs in their life and don't do fuck all to achieve shit, but they're still have time to be bored, holy shit, you are the worst. Not the worst, but those are the annoying folks in my opinion, the ones who can manage to complain all the time and are still bored. Like, shit, you are fortunate if that is your reality, in my opinion. Anyway, I give this a 4.5 because I didn't really wrap my head around it. I get it a little better now, but it's a fun song.
Yeah, I gave it a 4. I kind of went back and forth. I'm like, do I give it a 4.5? Do I give it a 4? And I'm like, I'm sticking with 4.
I gave it a 4. The beat wasn't all that great. It was a good song. The message of it is great. But it felt a little bit fluffy to me, and the beat isn't really something that's like spectacular. Yeah. So 4 out of 5.
All right, let's discuss Absol's outro.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4 grams and a fifth of Hennessy.
So we reviewed an Absol album that came out. It was either at the end of 2016 or the beginning of 2017.
Something like that.
That was the only album I gave a bunch of 2s on in the entire time I've been fucking reviewing. I wanted to know if you guys liked Absol's last album, because you probably maybe have listened to it, and it might have just been I was ignorant, but man, it just sounded like a bunch of conspiracy theory nonsense to me, and I was so not down for it. Be that as it may, this blew my fucking mind, because that was my expectation, was Absol's kind of like B.O.B., and that like turned me off a bit, but this was fucking interesting, right? I kind of wrote down a whole bunch of shit, like the beginning. What's your life about? Enlighten me. Is you gonna live on your knees or die on your feet? Fire in the street, fire in my swisher, fire in between the 2 legs of your little sister. Just get a sip of this elixir before they crop us out the picture. I've never seen a crop circle, but I've seen a cop circle the block. I puff squares, but I swear one day I'm gonna stop. My nerves itch on the brink of my career while my peers struggle for unemployment. Can you hear these screams? Uncle Sammy, no kin to me. 1, 2, 3, 4 grams and a fifth of Hennessy and a bad bitch. Fuck the penitentiary. And I'm just like, that's like the whole album wrapped up into like a verse.
So I think that's exactly like what's going on with this song.
Yeah.
It's like a summary of everything, before this.
Like what if Keisha's credible? Or what if Tammy came across a real man who didn't play games like children? Cheated on his girlfriend with his girlfriend's girlfriend, let the world end, and everybody tripping off 2012 and the extraterrestrial presence as well. Odd future's aight, but our future is not. Interesting, because he shouts out odd future.
Yeah.
But our future is not.
Well, it's funny because like odd future, having an odd future is but ours is not. That was cute. I like the fact that Absol is the one who's doing the entire breakdown of the album. I think that if Kendrick did the entire breakdown of the album, I don't think it would have had the same impact I got from it. Having Absol do it, having a third party break down an album in a questionative way, if things were different, kind of leaves you off on this way of thinking. What are the possibilities, different options? It really sticks with you, and I think it's because someone else broke down the album.
But then you also have Kendrick following up that with explaining why he wrote this album. Like, he felt compelled to share his experiences. Well, it's, this is really his opinion, and this is what he felt he needed to do. And again, driving home this almost need of, you need to go find what you want to do, but he also might not be right. This is just his thoughts on the matter. And I really like the way he establishes that after putting, one could say, such a controversial message down on paper, like documenting the status quo, etc. And so I dug that. And this beat is so alive. I'm not necessarily...
Well, it's like it sounds like you're at a jazz club. Like, it sounds so nice. Like, it's very, very live sounding, I guess, if that makes any sense. Or just like real instruments, like, it just is nice. I really like this song. I thought it was very cool. Like, he just wants you to be able to listen to him and kind of like see into his world. Like, that's kind of what he's saying. Ab-Soul was saying about Kendrick and about all the songs and about all the messages, and that this is kind of what's going on, and that he wants you, of course, again, to be better. And like, it's an interesting look at, like, I've never really heard a song that was like a whole summary of the album, and it's basically one of the last songs. And then we have like the guy from like all the skits, like giving like the speech again. And he's talking about like the fire that's inside all of us, and that you will leave knowing that you represent something bigger than all of us. And then he goes into like the HiiiPower, and then obviously that transitioned into the next song, but the next and final song. I thought that it was kind of really cool. I liked it. I liked the whole thing. I gave it a 4.5 on 5.
4.5 on 5.
I actually give it a 4.5 as well. I think it's really interesting how in Kendrick's verse, the only part Ab-Soul really comes in is to question your intentions and your integrity. Like, and again, like, the crux of this album seems to be you as an individual need to take the locus of control of your reality and move it inside of yourself and make different choices and have a different perspective. And it's like, I found myself having, this is the first time I've listened to Section 80, it was like this week, but I found myself having said this shit for a long time now. Like, when you really do change your perspective, it's interesting how life can evolve. And Kendrick just spent the whole fucking album telling us the same thing, Anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is that one last song. And I think you're supposed to put three fingers in the air.
HiiiPower.
It's a figment of imagination. I don't want no plastic nation. Dread that like a Haitian. Why?
Yo, this beat is beautiful and powerful. Like, this song makes me feel empowered. I feel stronger listening to it.
Good. I think that's what he's trying to do.
What's super interesting about the way he stylized the track on the track list, meaning how he put the letters. So it's capital H, 3 little I's, and then capital P, little O, capital W, little E, capital R. And if you break down that power with the way he stylized it, it's kind of like po-we-are. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
Because, anyway, just taking power and breaking it like that, it's good. This song, it just kind of looks into the idea of, like, the expectations
standing for something,
of how, like, these great role models are looking down on, like, how you got Malcolm looking back at him as he starts every verse. Like, this is something that's so powerful to him that, like, how could this guy have died and I'm not going to do anything with it? Like, whatever.
Well, I think that it's obviously, what he's experiencing. It's very much like a black people, coming together. He wants everybody to stand up and take the challenge and be better and live your life and get, try to do everything you can to better your world. And I think that he's, like, specifically talking to black people, and the fact that he's talking about, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, and, I think that he's...
And then the real thing is to make your own hieroglyphics and to build your own pyramids, right?
To make your own message, leave your own mark.
I really love this. Who said a black man in the Illuminati? Last time I checked, that was the biggest racist party. Yeah. I mean, because there's so many people who are convinced, and Wayne and Drake and Hove were all in the Illuminati, and it's just like...
Benjamin Franklin.
Look, say what you will, but it would be wonky for a secret society trying to maintain global power to have... Because this is conversations I had in real life once upon a time. To have Lil Wayne be the spokesman for your secret society is weird.
Yep.
It might be true, and there might be
Nobody
some
knows.
folk out there who believe that shit, but from a tactful perspective, that is not the reliable guy that you would put in charge of your secret society. Hove is a little more believable. He at least has a presidential decorum about him.
Fair.
I digress. I also really like, Dear Lord, come save me. The devil's working hard. He probably clocking double shifts on all his jobs. Frightening, so fucking frightening. Enough to drive a man insane. I need a license to kill. I was like, shit. Like, there's just so much passion and energy packed into this little song. Beautiful chorus, beautiful. Like, the way the chorus's notes change into this upscale of notes just lifts you up as he's like, you just feel like these intense verses, but the chorus comes and all of a sudden it's like this refuge of music to lift you up, and it really hit me hard. This is a 5. This is an amazing fucking song, and it's the lead single, and it's the album closer, and it's a bull fucking move to make your lead single be the album closer, because your album closer is going to be one of your strongest songs in a sense.
Yep. I mean,
impressive move.
Uzi was influenced by this.
Yeah, it's very motivational. It's very much, he says, like, stand for something or die in the morning. It's a really great song, and I think that he's really just trying to push people to do the best that they can possibly do, and like don't be like a modern slave to, like, anybody or at all, and like just don't do it. And I think that he's just trying to get people to like get out of that like situation. I liked that at the end he says like thug life, and then he's like thug life, and like like he's really thug, and it's it's like when you resist and like you pave your own way and you are an individual. I think that's what he's trying to say is the most thug thing that you can possibly ever
Just
do.
like Tupac.
Yeah, like just be an individual.
Thug life was Tupac's movement that was kind of that. So I think it was a very specific thing to shout it out like Tupac would have at the end of his album, like to show from a philosophical point of view where he's getting some inspiration from there,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's a 5 on 5. I love it.
I gave it a 4.5 on 5.
Okay.
The song is great. The message of wanting to be equal is there. Honestly, I just think at this point it was a lot of complex lyrical bars and a lot of like messages that I had to resonate with. But not to take anything away from the song, it's great. It's fantastic. I just wouldn't go back to it on a personal note.
All right.
Okay.
So on that note, I guess we'll wrap up. This album is fucking fantastic. I don't think there's any bad songs. There's a couple that I might not like on a beat front.
Yeah, or less enjoyable
But
maybe.
It's totally an album I can hit play on and run through. And I feel like I actually listen to it another 5-6 times, I'll actually like it a lot more because there's probably just some shit I missed in the brilliance. But at the same time, it's not necessarily as tight and polished as A Good Kid, Mad City. But I kind of actually like this more than Damn. For real. This is a more interesting, more passion-filled album to me. I give this a 4.53. It is definitely a clear fucking banger of a classic. And it's incredible how I feel so strongly powerful about all of his albums so far. Like,
cool.
Even Eminem as an average didn't perform as well as Kendrick is performing for my averages in terms of how high they are. Like, Kendrick's got a specialness to him.
Yeah, he's great. He's definitely like he's paving a path. He wants to be something different, and I think that he's trying to just get that message across to everybody. I gave this a 4.35, which is like an 87%, and I liked it. I thought it was good. For me, like, the first kind of half of the album was a bit slower. It wasn't my, like, I mean, they were still all good songs, but they weren't, like, great. And then, like, it was just, like, the second half was just, like, hit after hit after hit after hit. And it was just, for me, like, I loved it. I thought it was very enjoyable. Lots of good messages. Yeah, it's a pretty fun and, like, entertaining and educational album.
4.43. It's a great album. Clearly a classic. A lot of introspective messages that are very hidden within the complex lyrics. I don't know if I like it more than Damn. I think personally I like Damn a little bit more in terms of artistic style and how he came up with the
album
the
is
album
not
itself.
different backwards.
Nothing to do with backwards.
I'm just saying
Just
it.
you can blurt that out, but I'm
I
saying
watched
just
your top of the year video.
that's
list.
totally fine. It has nothing to do with it being backwards. I just really like Damn more. The sounds, the vibe to it,
Okay.
the messages behind all the songs. But what I was trying to say as well was I do see where Damn got created from in terms of already Section 80, Good Kid, Mad City, and we're probably gonna do To Pimp a Butterfly. I can
some point.
see where the maybe not politicalness, but the crux of where Kendrick holds true to himself has been throughout the albums I've seen already. So
Yeah, for sure.
it's fucking dope.
All right, so thank you all for watching this video. If you're still with us, or if you just joined us at the very end, still thank you for coming to catch the little summary bits. As you know, if you do enjoy this, you can comment and let us know what you think, and we totally encourage you to do so. So much so that there's a contest based all around you commenting and liking and subscribing. But really, we do read all of your comments, and some of them
All
are
of
really
them.
fucking dope. And I've actually been going through them all as I compile that list to also grab all your requests, and I'm going to publish that soon. So we just appreciate the interactions and let you know that we take it seriously. So looking forward to doing more albums with you, and we'll have another one next week.
Yep. Welcome to 2018. Whoop, whoop, whoop.